Metal for the Mass is the only place playing it harder, faster, and louder than anybody else on live365.com. I am joined by very special guests, another absolutely amazing band from Florida. They are called A Moment of Violence. And we'll start with Mr. Dez here. He can introduce himself, and we'll go right down the line. It is not everybody, but we understand, and we're very grateful for those that could be here in the band to talk about what you guys do.
Hey man, my name's Dez. I'm the primary songwriter and guitar player, lead guitar player of the band. So appreciate all you, man, and I look forward to doing this for sure. And I appreciate you for having us, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, it is my pleasure. And then I think we have Mr. Metal Cowboy is next.
Hey, I'm Brent. I'm the rhythm guitarist for the band, and happy to be here, man.
Fuck yeah.
And Womp is tapping on the bass.
Hey, I'm Womp. I'm the bass player. I'm the newest guy in the band and the oldest guy in the band.
Gotcha. Yeah, Womp was the first one to pop up on my screen when I started the interview, and I was a little taken aback because I pictured everybody being younger. But no, I dig it. So you guys are called A Moment of Violence. Why that name?
It's really something that Scotty, our drummer, kind of came up with. I think the story behind it ultimately was like he was at a baseball game or something like that, and he's pretty notorious for thinking of like random play on words and stuff like that, at will pretty much. But for this particular time, I think that he said that they were like doing like a moment of silence for a tragedy or something like that. And he was just thinking a moment of violence in his head. And he actually contacted me and sent me a message. He's like, man, I think I got a good song name or an EP name. What do you think about, using a moment of violence? And I said, shit, man, I think that sounds pretty cool. Maybe we could, use that as the band name. And then ultimately we took a vote on it and everybody was on board for it.
Fuck yeah. And that was how long ago?
2 years, maybe.
Okay. So you guys are still a relatively new band on the scene.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. I mean, we just put, it took a little while to finalize the lineup, overall, but we just put our first single out in January 13th of this year.
Bitchin'. And you guys, little, no shameless plugs here, but do you want to plug it just so people know, where they can go get it from?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that song particularly that I'm talking about, the name of it is Fine. You can certainly just look it up on Spotify and you'd be able to check out actually 3 of the releases that we've got. We've got Fine, we got Scrape, and we've got Forgiveness out right now.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the background of the name. How about your guys' just individual backgrounds on how you guys kind of just got into the metal scene and how you guys came together?
Sure. If you want me to go first again, all right.
I mean, you can go first, or we can let the other guys talk if you're tired of talking already.
No, I'm not tired of talking, but let's let them go first, and then I'll go last.
Hey, I have no idea how I ended up here. I play countries and blues, and Dez lived across the street, and here I am.
There it is.
Yeah.
So how I'm sorry, Womp, I don't mean to talk over you.
Right.
Country and blues. Wow. And you get roped into a metal band, no pun intended on roped, but how'd that happen? Did you guys just like chance meeting and they were like, hey, like, do you want to be in a metal band?
No, funny story though. Go ahead. Well, Brent.
I've always played guitar, and I've listened to all kinds of music, so I liked metal and whatnot, but Dez lives right across the street, and by chance we just happened to meet one time and figured out I played guitar and he was looking for one. So
yeah, I mean, shit, we were searching for a guitar player for months, man. We had like all these active ads out there, and a couple of people responded, but we really didn't get anybody who we thought was going to be a good fit. And by chance, I was actually outside of my house one day, and his ex-wife was out there too, and I was telling her, she had mentioned how she hears the band when we were practicing or whatever. And I said, yeah, you know, what do you think? And she's like, oh, it sounds really good. She's like, did you know my husband's a guitar player? And I'm like, no shit. I said, well, we've been looking for one forever, you know? And I said, give me his number. And then I contacted him. And sure enough, man, yeah, I mean, with all due respect, he is a blues and country type of guy. But the guy worked his ass off to really learn all the parts and stuff like that. And, you know, it was just like, I don't know, magic when the two of us got together and we started jamming, dude, you know?
Yep. I mean, it is fair that, you know, it going all the way back to the earliest days of rock and roll, which is what heavy metal stems from, you know, it all comes from country and blues, brother. So, I mean, like he's
Oh, yeah.
already got the basics down. So,
Oh yeah, he's got the chops. He's clean as hell when he plays, you know. So I knew he wouldn't have a problem learning it, you know, as long as he put in the time to do so, and he definitely did. So 100%.
fuck yeah. Mr. Womp, I always love talking to the bass players because I too play bass. It is very fun having the easiest job in a band.
You think? No.
No,
It
it's
definitely is. Oh, I'm only kidding.
I always get a little jealous when everybody else gets, you know, when everybody else gets a date for the night and the bass player is always sitting there being like, well, at least I still have my guitar. But no, I'm just kidding. So how'd you get roped into this band?
I was at a jam night down in Pompano, down here in South Florida, because we're all here from Florida. And this original band pops up on the stage and they're playing some really, really cool stuff. And I'm listening, I'm like, wow, these guys are awesome. The next time they came down, I talked to the guys and they didn't have their bass player with them. I said, yeah, you know, I got my bass, I got my amp here. You want me to play? Yeah, sure. Why not? I didn't know any of the songs or anything like that. I heard them once. And I said, what are you guys tuned to? Oh, we're tuned down to low C. And I went, oh boy. So I always play a 5-string. So there I am in low C and I'm just trying to pedal along, you know, see what they're doing and stuff like that. And I was so goddamn impressed with it. I gave Dez my card and I said, listen, if you ever need a bass player or your bass player jumps off a bridge or your bass player, you know, marries somebody in Africa or so, whatever, just
If the bass player goes to New Jersey and somehow goes missing, here's my card, you know?
Yes, exactly. And I was talking to him back and forth, you know, about trying to get into the band and see what's going on and stuff. And one day he calls me, he says, hey, your dreams are about to come true. I says, oh, I'm going to get a date with Drew Barrymore. He says, no, the other one. I said, all right, then what is this? He goes, you want to be our bass player? I said, well, give me about half a second to think about that. Yes. So that's how I got with these guys.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. What's your like your playing background? What is like how'd you get into playing bass guitar? Like what are your inspirations to kind of get into playing bass?
When I was about 7 years old, my Uncle Sammy handed me a record called Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath.
Ah, gotcha.
And I remember putting the needle on and hearing all the thunderstorm at the beginning and stuff and the dong, dong, dong. And a little kid, I got scared to death. I was like, oh my God, what is this? But ever since then it was, yeah, I'm going to play bass. And the first bass player that I ever heard do anything like that was Geezer Butler. And, you know, just listen to him to do the beginning of NIB. And I was like, what is that? That's a bass guitar. I said, I want to play bass. So I'm not a guitar player who transitioned to bass. I've always played bass, always.
For sure.
That's what's
So,
up.
Yeah, man.
I mean, to have Geezer be the first one to just be like, hey, like that's what I want to do. That's a great start. Mine was
Yeah.
mine was Steve Harris. So
There you go.
kind of up there in the bass playing gods, where I was like, you know what? I love how that guy plays. I want to play a bass guitar. But here I am, some prick on the internet. So obviously I wasn't as good as Steve Harris. So anyway. But anyway, that's awesome. I like how it's kind of like I and I mean this with the most respect possible, but like it sounds like you know, a ragtag group of guys with a bunch of different backgrounds, you know, not all pulling from the same genre. So you guys are able to kind of think out of the box, different play styles, you know, pull from different genres, what's good in here that might be able to complement what we're trying to do. So you
Yeah.
guys are really able to come up with some pretty creative stuff from the
Yeah, man.
sounds of it.
For sure, bro.
So,
Yeah.
100%, man.
so you guys just released a single. I mean, let's kind of talk about, you know, what kind of creative process, you know, since we're talking about how you guys are different backgrounds, pulling from different genres, does that shine through in the single you guys just released? Like, do we get to hear a lot of this?
Well, I mean, ultimately, most of the songs that we have right now is stuff that I've worked on over the course of the years. I'm also the producer and the engineer of the band too, as well. So, the process really is, you know, I'll either dig up an old riff that I've written years ago, like the newest single, for instance, Forgiveness. I mean, I'm not shitting you. I wrote that song probably 10, 12 years ago, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I'm just grateful that it's like still super current, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, what I'll generally do is if I'm jamming on my guitar and I like the direction I'm going with, or I write a cool riff or something like that, I'll just open up a new session and then I'll put some, you know, bullshit MIDI drums behind it just to kind of keep a beat or whatever. And then I'll track it down and then I'll build it from there, you know, and I'll actually fine tune the MIDI drums. And then from that point, I'll show it to Scotty, who's our drummer. And, you know, he'll kind of just, you know, give me the thumbs up on it or thumbs down. Sometimes I write shit that sounds like he has like 5 hands and he's like, dude, like fucking stop. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you know, that's really the whole creative process. I'll just put the whole thing together, show it to the guys, and everybody will kind of like, you know, like for instance, Brenton will go, hey, this is the part you want me to play here, you know, and I'll show it to him real fast and he's got it, you know, and we do that down the line. And then once we have what we feel is like a completed song, or like a completed rough draft of the song, I should say, we'll practice it as a band for a little bit, get used to playing it that way. And then Alex, who's the vocalist, will come into the studio with me, and we'll sit there and we'll write words to it, you know, and kind of say to him like, hey, how does this make you feel? You know, what message are you getting from this music instrumental right now, you know? And we'll just kind of, you know, he'll give me an idea of like, well, this one reminds me of like a depressing type of relationship, you know, bad relationship or something. So we'll just kind of, you know, go off of that, and then we'll just build and build and build and build. And then before you know it, we've got a completed song. And then even better is when I actually do the final mix down. A lot of the times that song completely changes almost fucking exponentially. Just because, you know, some new ideas came into the mix too as well, but it's always for the better, and the shit comes out, you know, fantastic at the end of the day. So
Gotcha. Which
Sure.
oh, say that again.
Just we relearn them again and again.
yeah.
Well,
Yes.
you know,
Yes, we do. That tends to be a pain sometimes.
Hey, dude,
oh man.
gotta put out the best possible product, dude. You know, so
I know you do. And that's why we follow along. It's amazing the things you hear on Spotify, the things you hear on, you know, all the other media and stuff like that. That is all done in Dez's room, right where he's sitting right now. If you take a look at him, that's his background. That's where he's sitting right now. But all of that stuff comes straight from there. And because he is
by the way.
that good of an engineer.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, if you take a look to everything behind me, this is the Metal for the Masses studio right here. It all comes from the confines of this room too. It's amazing what technology has been able to, the heights that it's been able to bring, you know, individual artists such as yourselves
yeah,
to in this modern era. Because before, you know, going way back in the heyday, you know, you had to get in contact with the label. You had to have a producer. You had to have, you know, a space to record at. You had to go and pay somebody for time and pay somebody for mixing and pay somebody to do all of these things.
yeah,
It's literally at your fingertips now, you know, like the future is now, you know, there's the there's the negative repercussions of that. I mean, everybody can be a music producer now, and
Yeah.
quality goes up and down, but you know, it's a lot easier for you know, how I
It's
love
more
it when-
accessible. The
Yes,
bar
it's-
the barrier of entry is not as big as it once was back in the day, for sure, 100%. But still, at the end of the day, it's in my opinion, it's has a lot to do with the guy controlling this shit, not necessarily just the technology that's available to everybody at the same time. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
you know,
It's not just the technology doing all of the work. Like, you know, there's an artist behind the controls.
yeah,
The thing that I most love about it, though, is the point of Metal for the Masses is to try to get underground artists out in front of people who may just only know what's in the mainstream, because that is, like, you know, if you turn on your like, you know, your local radio, you know, you might just hear a block of Metallica. You know, you might not know that A Moment of Violence or World Eater or, you know, a bunch of these other bands from Florida exist, because they're not specifically on a mainstream radio station. So
Sure.
you're trying to hear these guys on other networks, and the fact that there are these other outlets now in, you know, 2023
it's amazing.
is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So much so, it also kind of goes along with being able to produce your music. You know, you are the artist behind getting everything produced, but 20, 30, 40 years ago, you know, if we're in the same situation, could it work out the same way? I don't know. There'd be a lot of money involved.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, 100%, without a doubt. I agree.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
but I mean, we just really like you kind of hit the nail on the head before too, is like, you know, what we are, and the reason why we were able to get such a fast jump start is because everybody in this band has been playing their instrument respectively for, you know, everybody at least 10, 15 years, you know what I'm saying? So for us to jump in the mix, you know, and just you know, hit the ground running, it was relatively easy to do once we
Right.
found the right people, you know what I mean? So
Exactly. Because I've interviewed bands that have just like recently just started, and you kind of one that comes to mind is a band called Bloodprint. They had released their first album like a year or so ago, and then they released their second album at the end of last year, and you can kind of see the difference in their skill level. You
Right.
know, that, you know, before, when they released their first EP, sounded a little, you know, it sounded like their first EP, you know, like they had first started getting into mixing and doing it all themselves. They learn a couple things along the way. Their second album sounds better than their first one because they mixed it a little bit better.
right, sure.
You guys already knowing what you're doing, you know, there's this technology comes to your fingertips. It's a whole different ballgame, you know.
Right.
Now you're up there with, you know, people who are, you know, making a living off of mixing other people's music. You guys are just able to do it, and you're able to do it for free, essentially,
Yeah.
and put that money towards getting your band a little bit ahead of the rest of the crowd here.
Right. Getting it known, getting it out there, getting it promoted, for sure. 100%. You know?
I was talking earlier about themes. You all kind of bring a different theme to the music that you're writing, whether it be Metal Cowboys. I see your screen name. What's your name again? I'm sorry. Brent. Bringing, you know, Brent's bluesiness to it, or bringing Brian's, you know,
Beethoven.
bringing his Beethoven to it. That all kind of culminates into your album. I stated earlier, like, you know, a big, you know, reason why I'm a metalhead is because of Steve Harris and Iron Maiden, and a big thing that I enjoy about their music is every album kind of has a theme. Now, Des, you were talking earlier about, like, you know, what does this music sound like, and you guys kind of go from there. Does your albums necessarily follow a single coherent theme, or is it all kind of each song is kind of its own individual thing?
I'd say each song is more of its own thing. I mean, we don't really, concept 10 songs in a row saying, all right, this whole album's going to tell a story. You know what I mean? It's more of just individual basis. What does this one make you feel like in general? Okay, let's run with that story. You know what I mean? So every song's going to tell a story 100%, but it's just that every song is going to tell its own story. It's not really just one big mess or one, I shouldn't even say mess, one big slew of, a whole epic story behind
Right.
10 tracks. You know what I mean? So
I got you. Okay.
Yes.
Going off of that, so each one kind of is its own individual story, or it's each song has its own individual identity. Do you find yourself kind of going back to kind of like the same place twice with any of the songs, like as in terms of like feel or flow at all?
Yeah, we do to some extent. Like, a lot of the times it's the easiest thing, in my opinion, for us to write about is going to be like a poor relationship or something like that. That's going to happen, right? But we notice that too from time to time as well, and we're like, we can't. We just went down that route on the last one. Let's try and change it up ever so slightly to something different. You know what I mean? So, you tend to try to go where the comfort is, but the beauty lies outside of the box. You know what I'm saying? When you do something
Right.
a bit different. So that's just my take on it overall.
Gotcha.
Yeah, one thing we all have in common is the thing that we all have exes. Every single one of us. We all have some crazy ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or something like that. And so that brings a lot of that to the table as well, because we've all been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Yeah, I think
Gotcha.
everybody's got that, that background, you know what I'm saying? At some point in the life, whether it's a family member relationship or it's a girlfriend or, boyfriend, whatever, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, but everyone's got that commonality. That's why it seems to be so easy to lean on that side, but just to kind of finish that off, ultimately we'll recognize that and go, all right, let's try to make this about something completely different, maybe something that nobody's ever really written about before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something like that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Speaking of going off of that, like trying to come up with something somebody's not written before, I mean, that's kind of it's kind of something that is very, at least in my opinion, I feel like that's very difficult to do nowadays, to try to come up with something that is something that nobody else has ever done before. I mean, like every band comes together and is like, all right, guys, let's put together this album. It's going to be the best thing. It's going to be something that nobody's ever heard before. But you always have that like one or that one person or that, 3 or 4 people that comes up and he's like, hey, like this band sounds like so-and-so.
Yeah, for sure. 100% always.
How do you guys, because I'm going to go back to, you guys are from different walks of musical life.
Right.
How do you guys describe, like if you had to describe your band to somebody without giving them a name of a band, because I don't want to say like, hey, we sound like so-and-so, because that's an insult to your work.
Right.
How would you guys, explain your band to somebody who might want to know what A Moment of Violence is all about?
Go ahead.
What I do is I pick up a phone and put on one of the songs and go, here,
Yeah.
listen.
But
That's
if
what we are.
if I had to say it, it's just we are very much focused on providing a heavy metal experience, but also we want to, we want people to have that sing along type of chorus melodic mentality too at the same time, right? So that's just that, it's heavy as shit, but it could also be beautiful as an angelic at the same time. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it.
So what
Exactly.
I'm getting from you is you want something that hits hard, for somebody that wants that extra punch, like not your typical karaoke song, but something that you could still have like a karaoke kind of vibe, but in like, say, like a heavy metal bar environment.
Yeah, for sure. You know, everybody's focus when they're writing a song, or their focus should be to have a memorable hook, right? So at the end of the day, you know, I always say it like this: like if you're singing that melody in the shower, then we fucking did our job, dude. You know what I mean? That's pretty
Exactly,
much it.
exactly.
Yeah. So
For each of you individually, what is that memorable hook?
I mean,
Oh,
I'm singing Under the
My
Sea.
favorite, I have to say, is Fine, because it just starts out right out with the bass.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if he's asking what the memorable hook of a moment of violence is. Ultimately, what's the most memorable hook to you as a person?
and that could be musically, that could be lyrically, that could be what like at like I don't know. It's kind of like asking me like what your favorite. It's kind of like me asking you who's your favorite child. But if you had to pick one of the songs that you've written,
Okay.
maybe I could put it that way to you. If you each individually had to pick one song that you've each been a part of, you know, which one is that song that you could, you know, sing in the shower, that you could play at a funeral, that you could literally like any moment in time, this is your go-to.
So for me, it would be, you know, Forgiveness has always been my baby, right? You know that, Brett. That's fucking always been my baby song, you know? So that chorus, I could sing that fucking thing all day long. What about you guys?
I'd say it's the same one for me. I mean, it's my favorite one to play out of them so far.
I'll tell you what, I had a memorable experience about a week and a half ago. Our singer is actually a professional wrestler. And the CCW matches were going on about two weeks ago, I think it was. And Alex, our singer, his entrance music was Scrape. And when that came on through the PA system, and everybody just stood up and just went, wow. And I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so awesome. I'm like, this is awesome. Like everybody was just going nuts when they heard that.
When
So
it-
it's just memories like that and things like that happened. And I was just absolutely, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away.
when it happened, where you just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
was-
Randy Macho Man Savage.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah, brother. The cream of the crop. A moment of violence. That's awesome. That's really cool. It's great that you guys like have like, you know, your own individual parts of the band that you can kind of take from, and it has a special place in your heart, and like that is, you know, your favorite aspect, you know, of the stuff you guys have put together, not taking away from the rest of the stuff you guys have put out, because it is all amazing. You know, like I've taken the time to sit back and listen to a lot of the songs that you guys have put out, because obviously that's what you got to do when you prepare for these interviews. And you guys have a really awesome sound. That's why I really wanted to go through individually and see, like, you know, what you guys are all about, where you guys are coming from on this musical walk of life. And if you had to pick one of these songs, like which one is it for you guys? So that's really cool. Is there
I love them
any-
all. I mean, I definitely
I
love
mean,
them.
I would hope so, but
but-
like, you know,
But
I
at the end
always
of the
like to-
day, you know, I got
al-
Forgiveness has got the hook for me, man. Ultimately.
I always like to wonder, like, you know, what, like, obviously artists like everything they put out, but like, is there like a most favorite or a most like, not so much hated, but like a most like maybe we could have done something differently among songs that they put out? Like, I'm sure a band like Metallica is very much regretting Saint Anger in hindsight. You know, like if they could go back and replace and fix some things, I'm sure they would.
I think
But-
we all are.
Right. But
Hey, the best songs aren't
Best
Say it
songs
again?
of what?
the best songs aren't even out yet.
Yeah, of ours. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you're asking me to pick between the three, it's Forgiveness. But as far as the other songs that we got, I mean, my favorite's not even on that list of three yet. You know what I'm saying? So
gotcha. So what is so you guys have this work that's been out, what'd you say, since January, correct?
Yes.
So do you guys have anything else coming out throughout the year? I would imagine so.
Yes. So right now, we're in the midst of recording another 5-song EP. I believe nothing's going to come out right now. I think the plan is really just to bring everything out come September. Whether it's individually released like once per month, I think it's probably more than likely going to go down that route. But for right now, literally for the next 2.5 months, I'm just cranking out 5 songs and just making them perfect.
Gotcha. You
Uh,
guys got you got working titles, you guys got album name, all of that.
No, nothing yet. We haven't really. I mean, we do have the titles of the songs. Yeah, I mean, so we've got one. The one that I just worked on now. I finished the music portion of it. I'm just about to mix down the vocals portion of it as well. And the fucking song sounds badass, by the way. But that one's called "Shots Fired." And then we have another one that's right now. I think it's called "This Bullet," but that may change as we go through the lyric writing phase of it. You know what I mean? But yeah, so we got the song titles. No EP's title yet. We ultimately, I believe, we will name it. You know what I mean? But just haven't done that yet for the whole EP overall.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So you guys are like the third band from Florida that I have interviewed this year. It started off with the band World Eater, who got voted best metal band in Miami. Kudos to them. Great guys.
Yeah.
Then there was I got to bring up their name because I feel bad, but it's slipping off the top of my head. But they got a really cool theme where it's just kind of like it. They kind of look like a horror metal band, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre themed, everything like that. It's pretty neat looking band. Sat down and interviewed them. And you guys are the third. And the metal scene in Florida, you know, Florida always to me seemed to just be a lot of sunburned Disney and alligators for the
Yeah.
longest time.
Sure.
I never really kind of gave the music scene down there much thought, nor did I think that metal would be as prominent as it is. I always figured that it would be like, you know, more country or, you know, something else. But it seems to be a pretty flourishing scene down there. I mean, like, obviously you guys would be able to tell me if it is or it isn't, but like, how is the scene down there in Florida?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of kick-ass bands, man. There really is. You know, a lot. It's metal, but there's a lot of wide variety of that. You know, so I got to say that lightly, but I mean, there's deathcore bands down here. There's metalcore bands down here. There's some hard rock bands down here. So I mean, it is a lot more than I even anticipated coming into the Florida scene as well. But yeah, it seems to be a pretty dominant area for that type of music for sure. And if it's not like super dominant right now, it's definitely going to be within the next couple of years, without a doubt, 100%.
And what makes you say that? Is it on the rise? Does there seem to be
Right.
more than there was, you know,
I mean,
before?
just fucking look at my Instagram account. There's Florida metal bands all over the fucking place, man. You know,
Right.
and a lot of them, you know, like you said, with the way technology is, everyone's got some good video footage out there. Everyone's got some good audio quality and stuff. So it just seems like here more, or maybe it's now more than ever. There's just a lot of bands coming out of the woodworks over here, and they're pretty damn good, to be honest with you. So.
Are there a lot of good places to play down there as well that are pretty accommodating to, you know, heavier bands such as yourself?
That's kind of a tricky one, though, to be honest with you, because like we live in an area, it's called the Treasure Coast. Well, me and Brent do. Womp lives down south a little bit, but the Treasure Coast area, shit for metal. I mean, it's a very high populated retirement area. So
Okay. A lot of
so
snowbirds.
yeah. So that said, it's really just more like what the clubs are looking for in our area are more like acoustic duos and shit like that. You know, just because we got to entertain these old guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
But down south by Womp, like Palm Beach area, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Miami, that stuff. it's a lot more rocking over there. And then if you head up towards like the Central Florida, like Orlando is a very big metal scene, and then Tampa is probably the biggest, and from what I've seen as far as that scene goes. So
That's awesome because it's like so I'm here in like South Jersey, and it's like the complete polar opposite up here. Well, I'm already laughing. I'm sure. Do you understand New Jersey at all, sir? Have you been there?
My ex-wife's a convicted felon from Jersey, so
Okay,
yeah,
you
I
know, you understand
Jersey.
then. You
Jesus.
understand. I would hate it too. I live here. Sorry. I'm sorry that was your experience with New Jersey. We're all not convicted felons, but it's a pretty terrible. place.
I'm from New York, so we're pretty damn close to convicted felons, I guess.
Well, look, look, I'm at least from South Jersey, and I'm going to throw all of North Jersey under the bus. There are a bunch of posers who wish that they were New York. That's all of North Jersey. Central Jersey doesn't exist. No matter what anybody tells you, it doesn't exist. And then there's South Jersey, where it's all farmland, and it's all people that want to say that they're from Philly when they're not. Also, the music scene, the music scene is like, yes, we have a lot of hardcore bands. The dominant scene, unfortunately, is like those, I want to call them like coffee shop alternative kind of bands, like Here's Wonderwall kind of bands.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard to be a metalhead around here.
Yeah.
Because everything just seems to not be here. And I hear from everybody else where it's just like you guys or any of the other bands that I've interviewed is like how strong the metal scene is or how strong the rock and roll scene is. And I'm just like, wow, I wish I had that here. Instead, I have another band trying to cover Wonderwall.
Yeah, no, I hear you, bro. I mean, like I grew up in Long Island, right? So when I was young, man, the scene was hot for fucking heavy music on Long Island, Connecticut, and that tri-state area for sure. But I still, connect with some of my buddies and stuff like that still live up that way, and they're just like the scene fucking died over here pretty much for the most part. So no, I'm happy that we're down here and we're able to do it. I mean, we do got to travel a little bit for most of our gigs and stuff like that, but otherwise people seem to fucking really get into it and really fucking enjoy it. So that's a good thing, man. It's great.
That's awesome, because that was going to be like one of my next questions. Like, have you guys played live, and how have you guys been received? But
Yeah, I mean, at first it was a little, I wouldn't say rusty, but at first it was just a little awkward just to get into the groove of it. But I mean, right now, I mean, we put on a fucking fantastic show now. I mean, it's unbelievable, like the response that we get and shit. I mean, we just played one in Vero Beach not so long ago at a fucking pool hall that we thought we played previously, like 2 months prior, and they had no fucking sound set up. They had no nothing, and it was kind of like we were trapped in a corner of the fucking place. We couldn't move and shit. But so that's what we were expecting when we went there the second time. But the second time they had a fucking whole different setup, and they actually had a guy that Womp knows doing the sound and everything with all his equipment. And fuck, dude, that show was incredible. It sounded amazing, it looked amazing, and everything was fucking awesome. So it was definitely a lot more than I fucking expected going there, for sure, 100%. So
it's awesome. It's always good to just kind of like not have to go back to the same venue twice and have it be the same, experience you originally had. Obviously, like that would be kind of annoying if you came back to the same venue and they still didn't have a working system, but they were ready for you at that time.
The first show I had to run the sound for all the fucking bands and shit like that with my regular rehearsal equipment. I'm like, dude, like it's not a qualified fucking sound rig, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I made it work. But still, it's kind of sucked that I had to sit there and fucking EQ everyone's fucking instruments and shit like that. But it is what it is. Anyone you want to put on the show, but there are a couple of cool spots to play, like the club that Womp met us at, which is Piper's. That fucking stage is awesome. The sound system is awesome. We've got one coming up in Tampa at that place called the Brass Mug, which I've never been there. I've never played there, but I hear from everybody that that's like the spot to play over there. So I'm looking forward to that one as well.
And you said it's called the Brass Mug?
Yeah, the Brass Mug over in Tampa.
What's the date on that show?
23rd of June, Friday.
Well, fuck yeah. This interview will be out by then. So if you're listening to the interview right now, make sure you're fucking there. Brass Mug in You said Tampa, Florida.
Yes, sir.
Fuck yeah, dude. 23rd. Get your asses over there. See a moment of violence. Tampa, Florida, 23rd, over at the Brass
Yeah.
Mug. All right. Fucking A, gentlemen. So talking about, your live experiences, how at first it just kind of like was like an awkward experience. Then you guys kind of just got a groove together. What's been like the most memorable experience of you guys playing live?
Probably that Vero show was probably the best show that we've ever played. We've had some crazy shit. Like we played up in DeLand. The city of DeLand is kind of like what, south of Jacksonville, south of Daytona area. They put on like a original music festival. They call it DeLandapalooza. But anywho, we played there, and like for instance, fucking my amp, one of the tubes on my amp head fucking went out. It was like, oh shit, dude, you know what I mean? Thank God we had a good sound guy. He was able to, like, it was still working, the amp, but it was just like super low. So the PA and the sound guy was able to fucking juice it up and make it regular volume. Thank God, but that same show, Scotty's in-ear pack fell out of his fucking pocket, while playing drums. So like quickly, Alex had to like retreat over to the computer, shut off the backing track, and we just had to go. But we seem to pull it together every single time, no matter what the mishap is. Sometimes there's going to be like little hiccups and shit like that, but we fucking run through that shit, man. And it's all part of being the pro, you know what I'm saying? And being on your best, putting on the best of what you got, and taking the cards you dealt, and fucking really just winning the game overall. You know what I mean? So,
Yep. Brent and Womp, is that kind of like the same for you guys as well? You guys had to say like your most memorable experience playing live?
I'm gonna go along with Des said about the DeLand show, about the second time we played at that pool hall in Vero Beach. That was completely different. And I found out a good friend of mine was doing sound, and I knew we were going to sound good because we were going through his PA system, which is a great PA system. And I knew it as soon as I saw him, and I said, this is going to be a good night. And
Gotcha.
sure enough, it was. It really was.
what about
Fuck
you,
yeah.
Brent?
I don't know, man. That Vero show was fun, but I think one of the best ones, honestly, Propaganda is not. It's probably my second favorite place to play. But the first time we were there after releasing our songs, it's like people actually knew who we were, and that was a moment that I was like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's cool, man. When somebody sings your song back to you, or they know what's coming up next and shit like that. It's definitely a cool feeling for sure. So I agree with that.
Fuck yeah. Do you guys feel like you're getting more and more known as of recently? I mean, like you guys say that, like, you guys have been like an outfit for what, like 2 years at this point?
Well, the band's been me and Scotty been jamming for probably just shy of 3 years. Brent's been with us for 2 years. Womp's been with us for fucking 5 months. Alex has been with us for maybe 9 months. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to count from when Scotty and I first started jamming, yeah, almost 3 years. But I mean, full band fucking since the beginning of the year, dude. You know what I mean? So.
That's awesome to see. It's awesome to see like, the finished product like that start to get more and more known, just to have people sing your songs back to you. And like since like the beginning of the year, you said like just that short amount of time,
Yeah.
You guys are playing shows, people know who you are, people know the songs that you play, people dig what you're doing, that shit's pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever think that you'd get there? Did you think like you guys would be well received since the beginning, or did you think it was going to be like kind of mixed?
I mean, listen, like you won't meet a motherfucker more determined than me to make this thing work, right? I mean, you guys know that. I fucking work my ass off, dude, to make this band as big as it's possibly going to be. But I will say ultimately that I didn't think it was going to happen as fast as it did. And it fucking really like starts taking off. And naturally for me, I'm not like the most patient person. I like want the fucking gratification now, you know what I'm saying? But to be honest with you, I mean, fellas, if we look back a year from today, did you ever think that we would be as widely known as we are already? You know what I'm saying? I didn't think so.
not already, but I always knew we'd make it somehow.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yeah,
But
I mean, these guys were widely known when, before I got into the band. And they say a moment of violence, moment of violence. And I'm like, yeah, I want to play with that band. And sure enough, he called me and then I was like, yes, I'm in the band.
It's awesome. So what's I mean, we talked about the Brass Mug on the 23rd, but like, is there anything else? You guys going to be part of any kind of like big festivals? You guys got any big plans going forward for the year? I know you guys, we already talked about you guys are writing new music, probably going to be coming out in September, but any shows, big shows, anything?
Well, I mean, we're gonna take it like as they come in, you know. A lot of the times in the very beginning, what we were doing is just taking on whatever shows just for the sake of getting out there and stuff like that. Not that we're getting spoiled or anything, but you know, we were kind of warranting a little bit more money as far as like playing live and shit like that goes. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna get on there, but I mean, really the primary focus is gonna be to get this EP out there 100% and make sure that it's fucking tits before we release it. You know what I'm saying? 100%. But you know, if the shows come in like on the calendar right now, no, we have the Brass Mug. That's the only show we have on the calendar right now. But that's not saying that we're not interested in playing shows. It's just like the focus is really just going to be on putting the music out, and then if the right one hops into our lap, we're going to take it and play it for sure, 100%. So
Fuck yeah. All right. I can dig that. I mean, and also at the time of recording, it is June 11th. So obviously stuff can change between now and when this interview comes out, when you guys play the Brass Mug on the 23rd, or when the album comes out in September, or said it was an EP, correct?
yeah, EP.
Yeah.
There's reasoning behind all of it, none of which I could really talk about, but at the same time, we got some big shit happening, and you know, fucking a moment of violence is going to the moon, brother.
Fuck yeah, baby. Build the rocket. Good shit. We're going to Mars.
Okay.
Gentlemen, fuck yeah. Thank you for joining me tonight on Metal for the Masses, the only place playing it harder, faster, and louder than anybody else. You guys have been great, man. You know, very humbled to have you here and to be able to talk about, you know, who you guys are, what makes up, you know, a moment of violence, and where you guys are going from there.
Yeah.
The pleasure was ours.
anything
The pleasure was ours.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man. If it wasn't for folks like yourself, bro, you know, none of this would be possible. Like you said, nobody would know who the fuck the violence is. So we definitely appreciate you guys 100% too, as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
As I tell everybody, look, I'm just some prick on the internet. I am just a guy behind the controls of something that's trying to make bands like yourself more widely known, not just here in the States, all across the world. The underground scene just doesn't really get supported the way that I feel it should. And so I want the change to happen. I got to be the change. That's how it is.
Yeah.
But
You know what? You just gave me a song idea. Some
what's
prick
that?
on the internet. That's going to be one of our new songs.
fuck yeah, dude. Just let me know when it comes out. I'll blast that shit. For everybody that might want to go follow you guys, you know, whether it be on Instagram, Facebook, you know, where can they find you?
Yeah, well,
A momentofviolence.net. You could get all the links from there.
yeah, for
And
sure.
all
But we
our
are,
shows, all our stuff like that. You get everything from a momentofviolence.net.
yeah. Well, I mean, we're on Facebook. We're a Moment of Violence on Facebook. Instagram, we're a Moment of Violence band. Same thing with TikTok. But you know, like you said, primarily our big time landing hub is going to be a Moment of Violence for sure. Momentofviolence.net. So you'll be able to kind of link everywhere. It's like a big fucking umbrella, just where you can go and where you can take it from there as well.
Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere fucking music is streamed, you'll be able to find us too as well.
All right. Well, if you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, that's where you can go find them. Make sure you go give them a follow. Make sure you buy their merchandise. Make sure you buy their albums. Make sure you buy everything. Make sure you go see these guys, blow them up. It's a Moment of Violence here on Metal for the Masses. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep.